This award, this is not for me. This is for the real organizers all over the country, the activists, the civil rights attorneys, the struggling parents, the families, the teachers, the students that are realizing that a system built to divide and impoverish and destroy us cannot stand if we do. All right?
So that's the first segment of many from this historical speech, some would say, from Mr. Jesse Williams. So first, I wanted to get a little synopsis from you all as far as your first feelings of the speech, and then the way that he started off talking about, it started with his parents. He has a strong foundation, with his immediate family, with his wife. And then he said, because if we do stand strong, against this system, then we can make those changes that we seek. But we got to have that strong foundation. So when it comes to our families, our found whatever you consider your foundation, what do you consider your foundation, and how do you feel about that? The way he prefaced the rest of his speech with that.
I've said this before on this show, and how do I explain this? I wasn't really raised with, I was raised in a predominantly white community. And so I didn't get a strong sense of what it was to be African American, what it meant to be black, what my history was, and different things like that. Black History Month for me was always an awkward time. You're the one black person sitting in a classroom full of all white students. You feel like everybody looking at you and things like that. So, my knowledge came later on in life, and as truth be told, I'm still learning now. But the good thing is that I know better now. And so these kids that I have been given to look over and take care of, I'm giving them what I didn't get. And so, yeah, it certainly does start in the home, to develop that strong sense of self and who you are and what you deserve and different things like that. So absolutely, I definitely do agree with what Jesse has to say about that.
Because, one of the things that he started that with, if y'all remember, is that he said, because it was his parents who taught him what the schools are afraid to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think everything he said was productive. Myself, I grew up in a neighborhood that was historically black. James Brown, Milt Hinton, famous jazz artists. My father was a pastor. When he got there, he started giving people dashikis, and they was like, "What's all this African stuff going on?" Because he was unapologetically African, unapologetically black, and so that was just pretty much put into my DNA. So I think that what he's saying, one thing I will say is that I find it very interesting, and this is the one thing that I saw, was that he does come from what we would call a multiracial family.
Right.
He does have a white parent. That needs to be pointed out. But for him, he's on a television show and he's making money. And he's still speaking about racism publicly, which means that at some particular point in time, he has either been a victim of or has seen some people being mistreated. So I want people to just, he's using his platform, and I think it's effective, and I think it was good.
And there were petitions to get him fired, kicked off the show, and the creator of the show, producer, rejected that, which should be noted.
I'm kind of guilty. I had to go back twice and listen to the first part of it because I really don't pay attention when people get awards because, they thank God while they were shooting off the gun and selling the drugs in the corner. You know what I'm saying? So I really don't pay attention initially. And then, two, I'm skeptical. Like people get up there and they say what he said initially. So I'm looking at him and I'm like, okay, your struggle ain't like my struggle. Just being honest. And then the more he spoke, the more he started to captivate me.
Yeah.
He had my undivided attention. So I'm like, okay, I could definitely hear Louis Farrakhan in him, just by the way that he was able to put his words together. He had an unapologetic way of being black. he had a way of saying, if you don't change it, we're gonna change it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, I really like he captivated. It's hard for somebody to do that to me.
Yeah.
You know.
So what I'm gonna do with the next part then? I want Max to particularly address this next part. And then if anybody else feels need to chime in, feel free. But I want Max to take special listen to this.
It's kind of basic mathematics. The more we learn about who we are and how we got here, the more we will mobilize. Now, this is also in particular for the black women, in particular, who have spent their lifetimes dedicated to nurturing everyone before themselves. We can and will do better for you. Now.
So, as a black woman, to hear that, does it give you goosebumps? What's the first thoughts that come to mind?
I can appreciate somebody acknowledging that on such a stage as the BET Awards. It's true. It's definitely true, and I don't know if that comes from the position that our women were given during slavery. I don't know if it comes from when, all of our grandmothers, great-grandmothers, things like that. What type of job did they go out and get? They kept the house of a white person. They raised the children of a white person. So, we were always putting someone else above ourselves, whether it was to earn a living or what have you. The African American women do it now. A large percentage of the reason why they do it is because of the African American male failing them. Mm-hmm. That, and then sometimes they just make bad decisions that put them in that type of position. Mm-hmm. But once you realize, once you get that newfound understanding and things like that, then you are able to mobilize that it's absolutely true, and I'm proof of that. Mm-hmm. So that's how I feel about that.
All right.
What we've been doing is looking at the data, and we know that police somehow manage to de-escalate, disarm, and not kill white people every day. So what's going to happen is we are going to have equal rights and justice in our own country, or we will restructure their function and ours. Now,
So, Razor, when we had the special live show about the current state of affairs, you mentioned something that made me give you another chance to address this.
Okay.
That
you
stood
sure
out.
you want me to address it?
I want you to address it.
Okay.
Because your part apparently was so good, so poignant that they put it on the news. I guess you saw that clip.
No, I read, like Aaron said.
There
No,
you go.
I seen it. Had the TV tuned to it.
You freeze it.
Yes, indeed.
You paused and said, "Look at me, baby. Look
Mama,
at me,
that's me. That's me. Yo, baby.
But yeah, so you made the point of whatever happened to, squelching the situation, disarming, things like that, pepper spray, things of that sort.
Non-lethal.
Yeah, non-lethal tactics. So, so when you hear him say that, again, it brings back that point. Like, do you want to expound on that, elaborate on that, of why you think that that's such an issue when it comes to us when we're faced with the police?
Well, you kind of tied into what Aaron had spoke about the officer that over L.A. with the book that said, the bigger the blacker, the more violent, the harder they come after you. And then you have people who have, okay, all right, here we go. All right, a lot of these officers have never been in any type of altercation before they became an officer. So once you give them a gun and train them in the lethal force of shooting center mass and headshots to neutralize the situation. This is not all officers, you know what I'm saying, have this mindset, but the ones that have the problems is the one I'm talking about. Then you have a situation where it can't come out good. So when you have a young man like Jesse who comes on here and says, look, either you're going to change or we're going to change for you. We're going to make you change.
It's going to
that is going to be
your function.
Right,
That's
right,
deep.
right.
That stuck with me.
Yeah, well, I mean, he said it in a way that was very, articulate.
Yeah.
But all he was telling you is that you're going to get up off me or I'm going to make you change. That is going to be viewed as a threat. So people, you need to understand, while you were clapping and standing, you have to understand that the other side of the tape heard it as a threat. So when they see you clapping and they see this, they say, okay, I'm going to have a problem here. So I'm going to I'm not going to let this build. So that's where the whole, when you start talking about restructuring somebody's government, you're talking about, I won't use that word, but you're talking about a serious fight of epic proportions. That's the only way it's going to go down. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to talk your way out of that. You're not going to be able to march your way out of that. You know what I'm saying? It's just not going to happen. So,
yeah.
I mean,
So,
Aaron?
yes, and Aaron, I have a part. You can touch on that, and I have a part right here for you as well.
Now, the thing is, though, all of us in here getting money, that alone isn't going to stop this. All right? Now, dedicating our lives to getting money just to give it right back for someone's brand on our body, when we spent centuries praying with brands on our bodies, and now we pray to get paid for brands on our bodies. There has been no war that we have not fought and died on the front lines of. There has been no job we haven't done. There's no tax they haven't levied against us, and we've paid all of them. But freedom is somehow always conditional here. You're free, they keep telling us. But she would have been alive if she hadn't acted so free. Now,
so, Brother Aaron, I know that was loaded, but he started off with that financial piece, our financial responsibility. And I know it's hard when you make your own money and you see all the, like all the fruits of your labor, and you see all that milk and honey out here. But then there comes a time where, and it's hard because once you're already out there on that grind, then you're saying, whoa, now you're telling me I got to stop, I got to slow up, and I should be reinvesting this, a little better. I got to start sharing what I worked so hard for, So, financially, like, so what were your thoughts when you heard that as far as how someone's labor, their finances plays into our struggle and our plight?
I mean, the financial part is just, it's a part of what they like to say is the American history. I mean, this country that we like to call America was built on the backs of a huge portion of our ancestors that a lot of them died getting here. A lot of them survived. A lot of them are our immediate ancestors, particularly in this area. So I think it goes back to something Razor and I always talk about is, being compensated. And I think the only people in this part of the world that haven't been financially compensated for what their contributions have been to society are black people. Now, I could be wrong, but every time we even hear the talk about reparations, it's always, well, I don't think that's going to work. Well, it seems to work for other people.
Yeah, for sure.
But so the financial part of it, I just don't think black people have been compensated. I think that we all have our own fiscal responsibility to do our best to stop the problem, and that's just reallocating our resources. And so I think that was a very constructive thing that he said, and I think he made a good point.
freedom is always coming in the hereafter. But you know what, though? The hereafter is a hustle. We want it now. And let's get a couple things straight. Just a little side note. The burden of the brutalized is not to comfort the bystander. That's not our job. All right, stop with all that. If you have a critique for the resistance, for our resistance, then you better have an established record of critique of our oppression. If you have no interest in equal rights for black people, then do not make suggestions to those who do. Sit down.
So. I will say real quick before Aaron takes it, the first thing that makes me think of from that segment there is that, you know, when he said, what did he say? The hereafter is a scam?
It's a hustle.
It's a hustle. I'm sorry. Yes, the hereafter is a hustle. You know, that's so hard. Woo! and you're talking about a predominantly Christian nation, and we all here sitting came from from Christian homes. And one of the hardest things to do, I believe Brother Malcolm X said this, is to wake up someone that doesn't know that they're asleep. And man, it's like to let people know, and we talked about this on that last show, but if you are in that position of where you've been taught that with everything that happens is just meant to happen, you pray about it, everything's going to work out, it's hard to get motivated. And I think that was a trick that was put on us as a people because we were taught by our oppressors. There's something else that Brother Malik Shabazz said, that like we're the only nationality of people who trust those that oppressed us to educate us.
I just wanted to add something. I always go to good old Tom, but I thought based upon what Jesse just said, I want to read this real quick, and I'll be very brief, and then I'll be quiet. It says, this is from Thomas Jefferson in 1816, it will probably be asked, why not retain and incorporate the blacks into the state and thus save the expense of supplying by importation of white settlers the vacancies they will leave? Deep-rooted prejudices entertained by the whites, 10,000 recollections by the blacks of the injuries they have sustained. Now that's Thomas Jefferson in 1816 telling people, look, we're trying to incorporate a society to where we already have deep-rooted prejudice as white people, but we're expecting these these black people to forget the 10,000 injustices that have been happening. So that's why when people say forget slavery, forget this, forget that, as Razor always tells me, they want us to forgive so badly because I don't think they're ignorant about what's going on. And that's the problem, is that we're not being honest. So I always like to tell people, just put that in context. This was a man talking in 1816 specifically about, I don't expect these black people to forget anything that we have done to them. And the reason why we uproot or why we uprise and we say some of these things is not because it happened in 1816, but as Jesse Williams just so eloquently alluded to, it's still happening today.
We've been floating this country on credit for centuries, yo. And we're done watching and waiting while this invention called whiteness uses and abuses us, burying black people out of sight and out of mind while extracting our culture, our dollars, our entertainment like oil, black gold, ghettoizing and demeaning our creations, then stealing them, gentrifying our genius, and then trying us on like costumes before discarding our bodies like rinds of strange fruit.
This creation of whiteness gentrifying our culture. I mean, you talk about some powerful words right there. And you know what that makes me think of the most is that how so many people associate and contrast black with being bad, being evil. You know, and first thing I think is that like God, it said that God came from, it came out of darkness, like created, light from nothing. So we can't associate black and darkness with everything bad, because apparently God came from darkness. If you believe what the Bible says, and then also when I hear ministers talk about that as well, especially black ministers, like when they get up and take out of context, when it comes, dark and light, and not realizing that creation of whiteness was something created, like racial divisions was created to lessen one group of people and to control them and to create this mindset and this mental stigma that still sticks with us to this day. He got good hair, she red bone, you feel what I'm saying? So
one of the things that portion of the speech made me think of is something that I actually heard one of our previous guests talk about, which is black appropriation. They want everything of ours but our blackness. So you want my style of dress, you want my flavor, you want my razor whispered hips. Okay?
I said lips.
Those lips. Look, you want all of you want all of these things, but the black. You keep that part, you know. That's what.
You remember Chris Rock said that one time? He said he was talking to the white guy in the audience, and he said, "Don't none of y'all
want to trade places with me,
and I'm rich." He said, "You know, you're gonna ride this white thing out."
All right. Let me see. How would you want us to continue on that particular section that he said?
Oh, if you want, we can go ahead and close it out. I can play the last part, and you can bring it right back in.
Okay.
Close it with your thoughts.
The thing is that just because we're magic doesn't mean we're not real. Thank you.
Is there a better way that he could have ended it, Razor?
Nah.
You know, because he just played off of it so well. That creation of whiteness he talked about, and then when you think about black magic, you know, and how bad that's supposed to be, you know, voodoo, all that kind of stuff, and he just ended it with it. You know, he didn't even have to say black magic, but he said just because we're magic doesn't mean we're not real. Just throwing it back at you and say, think about that. Take chew on that for a minute.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, I was gonna kind of pose a question to you all and play devil's advocate, because I'm sure a lot of listeners did to Jesse what they did to Barack, which is that, you know, you're not even really black. You know, you're not even really black. So what are you talking about? Like, what do y'all think about that?
Right.
You know, that's why
I got that.
I will say real quick. That's why I always remind people that there's always been white people, you know, in the struggle. All races have supported the struggle. I never discount anybody because of their race.
Yeah. Ooh, that is a loaded question. Like, everybody knows me. That whole one drop of black and then you black. I don't believe in that. That's not my thing. But the biggest thing about the way that he ended that was that people were clapping, but how many people not only understand what he was saying, but can actually put it to use in their own self. And that's where we right. And that's the problem. We always get it later. And then the rules get changed again. You understand what I'm saying? So with that being said, like, it was good. It was a good speech. And like you told me earlier, it's going to go down as one of those speeches that's going to get played over time and time again. But the problem is the people that need to move on it don't really believe it. You know what I'm saying? Because we have so many cases where, on the show, Max, you did before, where we're ashamed of our color. We're ashamed to be black. We're ashamed to exalt it because being black is being ghetto. Think about it. They over there acting black. Do you think that And the point that I'm trying to get across is we have contributed so much to the inventions and the progression of America. So when we say things like they acting black, it's automatically a negative connotation. It's not, you know, we created the wrench, we created the stoplight, we created soybean medicine, and all, you know what I'm saying? So it's just somehow it's been reversed that acting black is something bad.
Yeah, because the major religions, first libraries, mathematics, architecture, you know, like all that stuff.
I don't understand
Egypt, all that stuff.
How acting black became something less.
Because they know more history, black history, than we do, and try to erase it. That's why there's noses and lips blown off of statues in Egypt, because it's been tried to erase and tell us and make us think we're who we're not.
And the sad part about it is, all right, you know, not trying to make everybody dwell on when we came over the ship, we lost all of our heritage and we had to adopt the Caucasian way of thinking and we don't know who we are and we on Ancestry.com, but it's only going to go back so many years. You know, that craziness, because you have no history. You only have what they're telling you that you have. But the whole thing of, if you look in the mirror and you see something less than greatness, you shouldn't be up clapping for the speech that the man had. You know what I'm saying? Because he's fighting for you. He's talking about you. And if you don't see that, then that means you need to get yourself in line till you do see that speech that he was saying. Oh, I ain't no preacher now. Y'all know.
What you talking about?
I got a whole lot to pay for. I ain't
what is you then? If you ain't a preacher, what is you then?
I ain't preacher. I'm what's one of them other words? Storyteller. I'm like Biggie. Nah, but all jokes aside, Max?
See, I didn't know I was gonna talk. So I agree with Razor.
I thought you were going. I thought you were ready to close it. I mean, because I saw you tapping your watch. I thought you were ready to close it.
I was. No, are you ready to? You ready to close it?
Yeah, we're good. You know, unless Aaron has
Aaron, you got something you want to say?
I'm good. I just said enough. I got enough people mad at me.
I know, right?
All right. So, family, you've been listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, and our guest for this segment as we talked about the Jesse Williams speech is Razor and Aaron Simmons. And as usual, guys, thank you for stopping by. It's always a great conversation when you guys are a part of it. And most importantly, we hope our listeners receive something from this, because that's the point of the show, is to educate you. So, we'll be back next Sunday at 4 to do it all over again. Thanks for supporting us. Reach out to us on our Facebook page or email us at IMHO101jams@gmail.com and give us your feedback, your thoughts, your questions. We'd be glad to discuss them on air. Thanks. And, I'll leave this one with an infamous quote all of us have heard before. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.